Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings and my weekly radio show, Operation Freedom, is to provide you information the bought-off, lamestream, fake media will never present. Join us every Sunday on Operation Freedom. Stream the show live at davejanda.com from 2 to 5 Eastern. We have great guests, great information. We also have tremendous amount of content on davejanda.com, both on the public side. We also have a subscription side. For a very small amount, 30 cents a day, we deep dive on issues with guests that come from behind the curtain that you'll never see, never experience through the bought-off, lamestream, fake media. Today's topic is today and this week is one of the most important weeks for freedom in my lifetime. Look, there's a lot of wheels moving right now, and a lot of them are churning at the globalists, and they are panicked and desperate. Just look at what happened this past weekend at the G7 meeting. At the end of the meeting, Trump left for the peace initiative with North Korea. Again, the globalists are not very happy about that to begin with because the globalists are all about war, fear, force. Why? Because in their business model, out of war, what happens? They get more power, more control, and more financial resources. So Trump is at this meeting, this G7 meeting. What does he do? He throws a bomb into the G7 meeting, the globalist controlled G7 meeting, by saying, hey, remember, we used to be a G8. That included Russia. Well, let's bring Russia in. Well, why did that blow up the globalists? Because the globalists are all about conflict. And what better conflict than the United States and Russia to beat each other's throats? Because when that happens, who benefits? The globalist syndicate. So Trump says, hey, let's bring Russia in. Whoa, everybody at the party, Merkel, Macron, Trudeau, whoa, they get a little jumpy. But understand what that meeting was about. That meeting was about diffusing Trump to back off on renegotiating NAFTA. What happened? He didn't. Another hit to the globalists. Trump then gets on the plane. What happens? Because they couldn't fight him while he was there, they start changing around the communique, and to the point where Trump comes back and says, I'm not, and no one in my administration is signing this communique. What was done with the changes after I left was dishonest. Globalists thought, well, we could probably get this one by him. Didn't happen. So now Trump leaves for Singapore to meet with Kim. Now remember, Kim has always, his father, his grandfather have always been puppets of the Communist Chinese government. They're like the crazy uncle in the closet or in the basement. Whenever China wanted something done geopolitically or to their advantage in the world, what they did is they would bring out Kim or his father or his grandfather, shake him around like boogeymen and say, nuclear war, and then the West, which was run by globalists, would always cave in. And ultimately, the globalists, the Rothschild-Rockefeller axis, would get more power, more control, and more financial resources out of whatever the issue was. So what happens? Trump uses leverage in his deals and his negotiations. So what he did is he went to the Chinese and said, you know what? We're going to institute a huge trade war unless you bring this guy to the table. Trump knows that by creating peace, he puts a dagger in the heart of the globalist syndicate, run by the Rothschild-Rockefeller axis. Yes, I know. Trump is affiliated with some globalists, but I believe not globalists associated with the Rothschild-Rockefeller axis that have been the bad players in the world over many decades' time. Trump said to the Chinese, trade war or bring that guy to the table. China goes to Kim, and they brought him to the table. Now understand something. Many people believe nothing's going to happen out of this summit and this is going to be a one-off event. I completely disagree. And the reason is because my sources behind the curtain tell me that the negotiations with Kim have been ongoing immediately after Trump took office. Trump set a team, of which my understanding is Rudy Giuliani was a part of that team, and went face-to-face negotiations with Kim. Those negotiations went so well that when Trump went on his Pan-Asian tour back in November of 2017, the 7-nation tour, Trump met with Kim's hand-picked representatives at that meeting in November. Nobody reported on that. Nobody discussed that. But now you know about that. It's my understanding that those negotiations went so well that one, no more missiles were ever fired. Look, take a look, go back, do a search, DuckDuckGo or Google or whatever you want. No missiles were fired after Trump left those meetings in November 2017. In addition, it set up further meetings with Pompeo, who was the director of the CIA, then the Secretary designated Secretary of State, and now the Secretary of State, that led to the release of the 3 U.S. political prisoners in North Korean custody. It's my understanding that these negotiations have been ongoing for almost a year and a half with the Trump administration. And I believe there is going to be some very meaningful steps forward in this peace process. The ultimate goal is a reunification of the Korean Peninsula, a denuclearization of North Korea, and a removal of the United States troops from South Korea. Well, where would they go? How about the southern border of the United States? There's a whole big wall to build. The bottom line is that China brought Kim to the table because Trump pressured China on the trade issues. In addition, this whole issue with NAFTA is also tied in. China has been using a loophole with Canada and with Mexico that was built into NAFTA so that they could sell, if you will, components of whatever it's automobiles, whatever it might be, into Mexico and Canada, and they wouldn't be tariffed at the same level as they would have sold directly into the United States. It's been a backdoor for Chinese goods entering the United States with minimal tariffs. Trump is trying to close that. My guess is that once North Korea goes along and signs on to the peace process, and as it's implemented, the denuclearization, the reunification, the United States will start to remove troops, and as you see that, you'll start to see NAFTA being renegotiated. Yes, there'll be some perks in there for the Chinese because they went along with this peace process, but they won't be ripping us off as they have been for decades. Remember back in 1992 when Ross Perot came out and said, hey, you're going to hear this giant sucking sound with NAFTA. Ross Perot was 110% correct. I know, the bought-off lamestream fake media, owned by the globalists, painted him as being eccentric and ridiculing him. In fact, he was 110% correct. What Trump has done is he's utilized that loophole in NAFTA, utilized the, if you will, narrative of a trade war with China to bring Kim to the table, to institute peace in probably the biggest hotspot in the world as far as instability. This puts a dagger in the heart of the globalists. On the North Korean front, it puts a dagger in the heart of the globalists because they're the ones who created these bogus trade agreements, whether it's NAFTA or what they tried to push through that Obama was trying to jam through, that Hillary Clinton definitely would have pushed through, the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership trade agreement. Trump is putting daggers in the heart of the globalists, and in doing so, he's reviving freedom for you, for me, for every American, and for every person worldwide. This is a huge, huge week. Add to that, domestically, it's another dagger in the heart of the globalists because their puppets are getting their throats slit. And by that I mean the Department of Justice Inspector General report will start to be made more public. Understand, Michael Horowitz, I know, was appointed by Obama. Obama's best appointment from a freedom side, from a globalist side, his worst appointment. Horowitz decided not to take the bite of the globalist apple. Instead, I believe he is the real deal. From what I understand, his report is going to be devastating. It already has been devastating. All these people you see resigning, quitting, being demoted at the Department of Justice and FBI are all a result of the Inspector General's report. Remember, Chad Pergram, award-winning journalist, probably the only non-bought-off journalist on Capitol Hill, reported January 12th, 2018, 6 p.m. at night, the Inspector General's report was delivered to 3 congressional committees. It's because of that report and those committees going through that you see McCabe being fired, Comey being torched, Strazik, Page, Prestap, Baker, Orr, all of them going away. In addition, the Inspector General's report, it has been documented, has recommended McCabe be indicted, be prosecuted. The globalist puppets will be destroyed when the Inspector General's report is made public. It's going to be made public in piecemeal fashion. It's reported to come out June 14th. It's my understanding Horowitz will testify in front of the Senate, I believe Intelligence Committee, on Monday, June 18th. This is not the beginning, it's just the beginning, it's not the end of it. This is going to be a process, and I believe this process will extend all the way to Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, the former director of the CIA, John Brennan, the former director of National Intelligence, Clapper, former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, former Attorney General Eric Holder, just to name a few. I understand there are many people that say, I've been hearing comments that these players were going to go down long ago. But there hasn't been the Inspector General's report, which I believe is the real deal. I believe it's a neutron bomb when it comes to the puppets of the globalist syndicate. And I believe it will advance its way up the food chain and ultimately consume the Rothschild-Rockefeller axis of globalists. We have huge geopolitical issues occurring internationally. I believe we have huge domestic issues. I believe this is the biggest week, not just for Trump, not just for his administration, but for your freedom and my freedom, at least that I can remember in my lifetime. Let's see what happens, and let's hold everybody's feet to the fire. I thank you for joining me. I thank you for your time. You can always join us for more information at davejanda.com. Public side, subscription side, 30 cents a day. Very small amount for the amount of information you get. I hope you'll be a part of our freedom family. I hope you'll join us. Until next time, this is Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail.